Hi, this is Edwin Brown and welcome to my Pecha Kucha project for my PIDP 3240 class with Brian Casal as my instructor. My project is about the naked technology we had growing up and living in the 60s. Or it could be the naked technology of getting the idea of making my own fireworks. Or it could be how I got the girl after 40 years. Now, growing up in the East End of London, Ontario in the 60s, there was a place, the Dorchester Variety Store, and it was just outside of the city, about a 45-minute bike ride on one of those 10-speed bikes, not on a Mustang bike like I had. And it was hot, like near the end of June hot. You could buy some firecrackers there, ladyfingers and boomers, cherry bombs, and we needed some fireworks because that is what 12 and 13-year-old boys need, some firecrackers to blow something up. And because it was hot and a long ride to Dorchester, we came up with the brilliant idea of making our own firecrackers. We just need to know how to make the gunpowder. Well, not having the internet in those days, we did have the infamous Britannica Encyclopedia. Pretty simple when we looked it up. Gunpowder. You just needed three things: charcoal, sulfur, and saltpeter. Jeff says, charcoal, barbecue briquettes. These'll work. Brent says, sulfur, oh, yuck, my mom gives that to me every day. Great! Now we just need saltpeter. Where can we get saltpeter? Probably have to go to the drugstore for that, said Jeff, who has the charcoal. Brent's got the sulfur, so you have to go and get the saltpeter at the drugstore. Well, in the folklore of our day, potassium nitrate, or commonly known as saltpeter, was once thought to induce impotence. However, there is no scientific evidence for this, but coming from a family of 6, who knows at this point? So walking into Benson's drugstore and looking up and down the shelves for saltpeter, Mr. Benson comes over and says, "Can I help you, son?" Looking for saltpeter, Mr. Benson. Your mom having a little trouble with your dad, eh? Yes, that's right, Mr. Benson. Mom sent me to get some. Now, when you just turned 13 back in those days and having 3 sisters, sex education was the last thing you paid attention to, and Mom was always sending me to the drugstore for those sanitary napkins. Don't know what those are, but I get to keep the change. Yum, chocolate bars. Now, speaking of girls, while at the drugstore getting Mom's things, I see that cute girl, Margie, that lives behind me. Well, one look at me holding on to my mom's stuff, and out the door she goes. And I wonder, why doesn't she like me? She always seems to run away. I start to think that maybe it's my ears. They're elf-like, and they kind of make me look like Spock, I thought, but maybe she thinks I look like Peter Pan. Oh well, back to the gunpowder making. Now, finding the right ratio was nowhere in the encyclopedia, so the experiments began. Well, of course, word got out around the neighborhood. We were working on making our own gunpowder, and off we headed to the woods so we could be away from our parents' prying ears. But nothing worked, no matter what we mixed it with. It just fizzled and no pop. And then we were walking across the field back home, and Bob finds his 1-pound plastic margarine container. Jeff grabs it, opens it up, and Bob says, "Looks like gunpowder," while putting a match to it. Well, Tommy, with his red hair and a singed ball on top of his head, his face looks like Al Jolson with tears running down, and I'm laughing away at the whole scene. But the parents were calling the ambulance, and now we're heading to the hospital. And I see Margie skipping with the girls in the corner. I say, "Hey, can you make the sirens go?" Well, then she jumped, and I knew she cared. And that was 40 years ago. I kissed her that New Year's Eve. Well, let's say I tried to kiss her. Then somehow we never just quite got together. Maybe it was because of our parents. Hers and mine both got a divorce. Later in life, our high school had a reunion, and I made a video using Nickelback's song "Photograph." And pictures I used of myself, the house where I grew up, and the second owner fixing it up, and this is where I went to school, was the Clark Road Trojan. And Margie's friend who lived in London, who never had a computer, but heard from a friend about the video, told Margie, who did have a computer, and lived in BC to look at the Clark Road's 50th anniversary website and see the video that Ed Brown had made. And then the internet brought us together. And that was 7 years ago. And what she told me after we were married about that day, it was my face she was worried about. That cute, adorable face. She didn't want my face scarred. Go figure. I wish to thank my wife, Margie, my dog, Andy, for giving up the time so I could make this Pecha Kucha. And I hope you enjoy it too. Thank you. And now, if I keep talking, this will go on for the full 6 minutes and 20 seconds, and maybe I'll get full marks for this or whatever, but I hope you enjoyed the story. Tried to show that there is still naked technology at work today. Thank you.